Hello, my happy quilters. Thank you for joining us. This is a long-awaited day. My name is Marcia, this is Joy, and we're coming at you from Pine Needles Quilt and Sew in Rochester, Minnesota for the kickoff of the new block of the month, Chatsworth by Doug Leko. We started working on this way back in January.
I know, and it was so exciting to get
with
it
Doug.
going.
So for those of you that have been waiting along with us, or if you're just starting or you want to start, there will be links below for you to order a kit. But we're going to start out with showing you what's in your kit, and then we're going to talk about block number 1. So if you want to put the camera down here, so what you're going to get is a kit, and it's going to be in a zippered bag that kind of looks like when you get your sheets and things like that. But what you're going to get is a nicely printed pattern here from the book, and we're going to talk about you getting the book later on. But in the kit, it's going to come with a nicely printed pattern, and then all of these different fabrics. These happen to be the grunges, which will have 2 different backgrounds. There's either a kind of a warm colored background, which is called
Roasted
marshmallow, and the other one is called paper gray. So you're going to have all of these to get started with. If you have the Kansas Troubles, then you're going to have Kansas Troubles, and then you're going to have a scrappy background with Kansas Troubles. With all the rest of this, you're going to have a big, massive amount of a background fabric, and then also you'll have an accent. So this is the ebony black accent that comes with the grunges. So let's go back up to the top. All right, and so when you do this quilt, this is the debut, and you can't do it anywhere except with us right now until probably the end of the year. His books will be coming out, but what's really exciting for you is that you are going to get the book, this Chatsworth book. I believe it's a spiral bound book, and it also has additional projects in it. You're going to get this one for no additional cost. We are going to mail it to you, or you can pick it up at the shop when it is off the press. And Pine Needles Quilt and Sew is going to get the first copies. We're so excited about it, and they will be signed. These will be signed by Doug for you. So one more reason to want to do this, we also have early bird pricing until the end of August. So $225 is the regular price, and early bird pricing is $199 to be able to do this quilt. It includes all the fabrics that you need for the top and this pattern, plus later on when the book is off the print, you will be getting the book as well.
How exciting is that?
It is really exciting.
And in addition to all of that, you get to join Marcia and I as we highlight each block construction for you.
And that will be happening
every
other Tuesday. So these will be recorded, so then of course you can watch them at your leisure. You can watch them all at once. You can stop the video, whatever you need to do. But without further ado, I think we should get started on block number 1.
And in case you missed our introductory video, Marcia and I will be covering the traditional piecing that is in Doug's book, as well as using specialty rulers and AccuQuilt dies. Now, some details will be left out because Doug has taken a lot of time and effort to create these blocks for us, and he's generous to let us do this. So you're going to need the pattern to create what we are doing today. So some sizing will be left off.
Yes.
On purpose. All right.
Absolutely. So, and the only way you can get the pattern right now is with the kit. And the only way you can get the kit right now is right here at Pine Needles Quilt and Sew. And we're more than happy. We have 4 different colorways. We've already covered that. That's on our landing page. You can check those out. Real briefly, you mentioned the colors, 4 colorways?
Yes, so we have the grunge with the roasted marshmallow background. We have the grunge with a paper gray background. We have Kansas Troubles, which is featured behind us. And then we also have a batik colorway that is absolutely stunning.
Yep, so 4 different colorways for you to choose from. So without further ado, I'm gonna start by showing you how to make them as they are in the pattern. So this is traditional piecing. You don't need anything more than a straight ruler to do this. So this is a picture. Whoops.
Sorry, I thought you were.
This is block number 1. And I am doing it, actually I have fat quarters and a background fabric. And this is, what's the name of this line?
A fall line.
Yeah, it's pretty full line. And then I'm also doing it using a jelly roll. Whoops. With a different line. So this I'm using fat quarters. In your kit you have I forget what the size of the pieces
They're not
are.
really fat quarters and they're
Right.
not really strips, but they are scrappy and adequate fabric to make the project.
We just want to give you some other options of ways. Now, whatever way you choose to do it, and if you choose to use none of these, that's fine too. But first off, we're going to talk about the traditional piecing, and that is, I'm going to have you come back down over here. So this we're going to not pay attention to right now. So traditional piecing, I'm going to put this block over here like this so you can see. And in the pattern, it's going to tell you to cut some squares. And you're going to cut some squares, as you can see here. And I don't know if you can see the X that I have written on this or not, but you're going to cut one each of these squares and so many of these squares as the direction tells you. And then you're going to cut across on the diagonal. So on this one, then you're going to end up with these pieces. And you'll cut however many it tells you to. And then you're going to do the same thing with your 4 different colors. Well, you can see this guy here. And I would do my X. Well, actually, I don't even mark it. I just take my ruler from edge to edge like this. And then I cut. And then I turn it. And I cut it again. But if you feel more comfortable using a line, go ahead and do that. But then what you're going to end up with is 4 pieces like this out of the different colors. And then you're just going to follow the directions on Doug's pattern to show you to sew this together. So these are hourglass blocks. This is a very, very simple block to do. And of course, you're going to sew them together this way and then sew all 4 of them together like that. So that is for that one. And now I'm going to talk about the one that I've done with an actual jelly roll. And I'm going to do a little cutting demonstration on this one so that you can see. Same block, but what we're using here is jelly rolls or 2.5-inch strips. You could make this scrappy, whatever you want. Of course, in your kit, you're going to have what you need. You can choose your own colors. From your kit, you can use whatever you want. However, when you are making yours, you're going to want to make sure you save all of your scraps. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to take some of these. And I'm just going to show you quickly how easy it is to cut with the 1/4 square triangle ruler. Now this is a set that we have by Kate England. There is also Creative Grids has a good one. Easy Angles, I think, is another brand name. So if you already have this, then you're good to go if you want to do it this way. So what we do here, and as you can see, I just used my strips that I had, but I'm going to show you how easy it is. And maybe I'll take this green one because it's going to show up a little better over here. I'll start with the white one. Okay, so I wanted to tell you too about this with using jelly roll strips. There is also, like, this is called paper white. These are from Moda, and you can also use these. So for my demonstration purposes, I am going to be using the pre-cut paper white jelly rolls to cut some of these pieces. Now I will tell you, you're not going to be able to do all of your quilt out of this. Most of your blocks you're going to be able to, but sometimes there are some center squares that you need that are bigger than 2.5 inch. So you're going to have, while this is very convenient, you're going to also need some yardage if you're using a jelly roll at some point. So I'm going to show you how to start this way. So whoops, I don't need this one. I just need this one. So we have the 1/4 square triangle here, And what we're going to do is, this is of course a 2.5 inch strip. We're just going to line up the ruler on the 2.5 line at the bottom, and you can see the top has a little bit of a notch on it, and we're simply going to cut this like that. And there we have a wonderful quarter square triangle. We actually have 2 of them because they're right sides together. And then we're just going to cut as many as we need all the way down. So you can see that I've done these as well. Same way, easy peasy. Make sure these are lined up together and make a simple cut like this. So then you're going to end up with a bunch of these that you can make your hourglass blocks, just like that.
And Marcia, with those specialty rulers, you mentioned the notch being cut off, and that makes it much easier to put those blocks together.
Exactly. So when you go to sew these, you're going to turn them this way. You're going to sew on this line. You're going to take them to the sewing machine, and then again sew on this line. So you're going to have these 2 pieces all sewn together, and then simply what you're going to do, because let's pretend these are sewn together, and then you're going to put them together like this, and then you're going to sew down here, and then you simply press it. So that is the traditional piecing easy block. We've got,
and I went back up again, Marcia, so as you
oh, absolutely good. So we have the 2, you know, the one with a little more modern fabric. This is modern fabric too. This is Harvest Wishes is the name of this one. So, and this one is Camille, a new Camille line.
Right.
So there we have that, how to cut this particular block using both traditional and specialty rulers. What I will tell you about cutting with the specialty rulers is there's a little bit less trimming. Things are pretty, if you cut them exactly the way they need to be, then they should be the way they will be. I will tell you, on using the traditional method, which is great because not everybody's 1/4 inch seams are exactly the same, this one might need some trimming. But we're going to trim all of these blocks after we've sewn them together down to 8.5 inches, whichever way you choose. So now, shall we talk a little bit about your favorite and sometimes my favorite way to cut blocks as well?
Yes. So I'm an AccuQuilt lover, and I brought in just the little Go Me. It's a small little travel machine. Well, it's not really travel. I mean, it does travel, but you can also use it in your studio.
It's really a cute little guy.
It is, and actually I'm not going to demonstrate the actual machine this week, but in block 2 I will do a demonstration. But to create this block I need a set of cubes, and although I happen to be using the 8-inch block, just because it is an 8-inch block doesn't mean that it only can make 8-inch blocks. It can do 4-inch, it can do 2-inch, it can do all different size orientations for that. But for this particular one, I'm going to need die number 4. Now remember, when you're using an AccuQuilt, you should measure a 1/4 inch extra from left and right to allow the die to do its work, because as it goes through the machine, and I don't have the mat on it, but as it goes through the machine, the mat and the die compress into the blades and allow it to cut nice and accurately. So this is like cutting with a specialty ruler, but it's more efficient. You can do up to 6 layers of fabric at a time. And I would like to point out, to be successful, you need to pay attention to the white strip that are on each of the dies. You're going to want to make sure that your selvage is parallel to this. Now I mentioned this because when I cut, I didn't cut across the width of my fabric. I actually did cut parallel to my selvage, Marcia. And because to date, for all the quilts I have sewn, I have found that I've never run out of fabric. Now someday it might happen that I will, but because the die cutting system is so efficient with the use of fabric, you'll have plenty.
Well, and this is absolutely great too for those of you that have a hard time using a rotary cutter, carpal tunnel, arthritis, things like that. Absolutely love this. And there's all different kinds. There's an electric one, there's a bigger one, but this is great for making these 8.5 inch blocks, and it can go with you if you're going on a retreat.
Right. So I went a little different route and I'll hold mine up, and
Well,
then
you
I
don't
will
have
show.
the camera, don't you?
No, I don't, but I'm going to hold mine up. So this is my completed one. My particular colorway happens to be all reds, creams, greens, grays, and blacks. So I imagined this very colorful quilt in a bit more monochromatic fashion. And so you'll see that mine is very scrappy, but in two colorways. So my first block I imagined in the red. Now when I went and cut these shapes, I cut a piece of fabric big enough to cover across this gray area. When you lay your fabric on here, you'll notice that the fabric, the gray dye is not square to the background, and it's important when you lay your fabric over the top that you match the angle here, because you want your cuts to be on the grain of the fabric. But with each pass, I was able to cut 4 triangles. Now you don't need them all this time, but you'll find throughout the block, as Marcia said, you want to save what you cut, because you may use it later on and it will save you having to cut those shapes. So I have set up my pieces here to show how they're going to go together. And Marcia did mention her process for sewing, and it does say in the book how to do that, and I have a little storyboard under here if I get to the bottom of things. So I created a chain piece as well. So I did the flip over just like Marcia was showing, and I chain pieced all of my sections to create this. And I left that little thread in between to create a thread pin, because one of the things Marcia and I want to talk about too is being accurate in our sewing, and having these thread pins keeps our colorways clear and accurate. I also used, instead of pressing every seam, I used a stylus, the Annie stylus, to crease my fabrics, and it makes almost as good of a press as the iron. But what is advantageous about using this tool or your thumbnail is that it doesn't distort your pieces as you're working. So when I went to sew the 2 pieces together, I simply had to fold them over on themselves and then send them through the sewing machine again. And this is one of those completed pieces. But what I'd like to show is, and Marcia, you're going to show this, I think, or I'm going to reach over the top of you.
I think you can.
Is in the book, Doug talks about making sure, oh, here we are, making sure that when we do our final press that we do a little spin. And what you'll see is here I have my seam going here, and it's going around clockwise. And when I get to this one that's going the wrong way, I'm going to give it a little tug and a push. And you'll see there's this cute little four patch that happens, and when we press this, that makes our blocks exceptionally flat. And when it's quilted and when it's laying in its final layout, you get a really nice crisp finished look. And again, you'll want to follow Doug's instructions in the book as to how to sew these all together. But you'll notice on the back side, let's see, can we see those? I have all those little spun seams, and he talks about those in his instructions.
So now the sewing instructions on these are the same,
right?
No matter which way you cut, or you may have a cutting way that you want to use yourself too. But the sewing that Joy is going to talk about, the sewing, I'm briefly going to talk about it over here, but she's going to actually do a step-by-step and show you how everything looks from the front and the back, and the time saving and accuracy. I mean,
right.
These kind of things make things, look at her middles, her points are all absolutely perfect in there.
And you know, Marcia, you and I both know if it doesn't come out perfect, depending on your level of comfort, quilting is a journey, and it should be fun. And this is what this sew along is all about.
Right. So if yours don't come out just like that, there are no quilting police that are going to come and find you. It is absolutely fine. When you get it all done, nobody's going to look at those. And if they do, you might want to think twice about having them over to look at your quilts. But anyways, so the center blocks of these, like you can see back here, these are the 8-inch blocks. And then later on, we're going to show you how to put them all together into the larger star blocks. So for right now, we're concentrating on the 12 little 8-inch blocks, PC blocks that we have.
Right.
Now, when you go into your fabric kit, there are 24 different fabrics, and basically you're going to have to use each one of them 2 times on blocks. You can mix these around however you want. That's why we're not using these fabrics, because we want you to see the scope of everything you can do with this pattern. And when it comes to putting yours together, you want it to be absolutely perfect for you. So you choose your colors. The constants, of course, are what you use in the backgrounds, and then also the accent fabric, but we're not going to be using the accent fabric till later.
Right, so just tuck that away in your supply.
Right. So anyways, this is actually a recording for you, and we will be monitoring all of the comments. So if you have any questions as you're getting started on this, make sure you type them in the comments, and we'll get back to you just as quickly as we can with answers.
Right, so
I think we'll button this up for today.
so that's block 1 of
Block
Chatsworth.
1, check. We've got it done. Thank you so much for joining us here. And we will see you for block number 2 in 2 weeks on Tuesday. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.